The day had started like any other, with balloons, laughter, and the sweet scent of cake filling the house. It was her daughter's birthday, a day meant for joy, family, and memories that would last a lifetime. The little girl, her eyes sparkling with excitement, ran from room to room, unaware of the storm brewing in the shadows. But what no one expected was that this day, meant to celebrate innocence and love, would also become the stage for betrayal. Her husband, the man she had trusted for years, had a secret he thought he could hide. While she had spent weeks planning every detail of the party, making sure her daughter's special day was perfect, he had made a reckless decision, inviting someone else, someone who was not family, under the guise of celebration. The mistress? She arrived quietly, blending into the crowd at first, her presence unnoticed by the laughing children and busy parents. But to the wife, the moment she saw them together, a cold wave of realization washed over her. The betrayal was not hidden anymore. The room was alive with chatter and birthday songs. Yet beneath the surface, tension crackled like electricity. The wife, calm and composed, felt something shift inside her. She could see the nervous glances, the forced smiles, the way her husband tried to act as if nothing was wrong. But she wasn't the same person who would quietly bear this humiliation. This time, she had a plan, a move that would not only expose the truth, but also make him face the consequences of his choices. As the cake was brought out and candles flickered, the atmosphere seemed lighter, but a quiet storm was gathering. The children clapped and cheered, unaware of the adult drama unfolding in their midst. The wife's eyes, however, were sharp, calculating, and unyielding. She knew the exact moment to act, and when she did, nothing would ever be the same for her cheating husband by the end of the party. Everyone would remember this birthday, but not for the reason they expected. A simple celebration was about to turn into a life-changing lesson, one filled with shock, regret, and revelation. And just as the first candle was about to be blown out, the wife made her move, a move so unexpected that it would leave her husband speechless. Regretful and forever changed, the question now hung in the air. What exactly did she do? And how would he face the consequences? The answer would shock everyone watching. Ever since the wife had caught whispers of her husband's betrayal, she had watched him closely, noticing the small changes in his behavior. The late-night calls he tried to hide, the sudden excuses for being busy, and the distracted smiles whenever he thought she wasn't paying attention. All of it had led to this moment. She knew him well enough to understand his arrogance. He believed he could juggle lies without consequences. But she also knew her own strength, the kind that had been quietly building under the surface for months. Her daughter, completely unaware of the tension, ran around with friends, squealing with delight over party favors and games. It was that innocence, that purity, that made her resolve even firmer. She would not let her daughter's special day be tainted by deceit. Yet she had to be careful. Any sudden move could spark a scene, and she needed to control the timing, the impact. Everything had to be precise, almost surgical, to ensure that the truth hit exactly where it would hurt him the most. Meanwhile, her husband tried to maintain his charm, laughing a little too loudly, patting her daughter on the head as if nothing were wrong. But the mistress's presence complicated everything. She smiled awkwardly, aware of the unspoken tension, sensing that she had stepped into dangerous territory without fully realizing it. And the wife noticed it all: the nervous glances, the forced casual touches, the subtle discomfort that neither of them could hide completely. The room, filled with balloons and decorations, suddenly felt like a stage. Every word, every look, every move was part of a larger game, one where the stakes were higher than anyone could imagine. Behind the laughter and music, a silent countdown had begun. The wife's plan, her careful strategy, was about to unfold. But the timing had to be perfect. One wrong move, and the delicate balance of suspense could collapse before the truth had its full impact. The question lingered in everyone's minds. Even if unspoken, what would she do, and how far would she go to make her husband regret the choices he had made? The answers were just beginning to surface, and the tension was reaching a point where it could no longer be ignored as the party went on. The wife's mind drifted back to the months before this day. The subtle warning signs she had ignored. The small betrayals she had tried to rationalize. She remembered the times he came home late, claiming work, and the way his attention had slowly shifted elsewhere. At first, she blamed herself, wondering if she had failed as a wife. But over time, the truth became undeniable. He had been dishonest, careless, and selfish, and now, on her daughter's birthday, the consequences of his actions were staring him right in the face. The husband, on the other hand, still believed he could play this off. He smiled at guests, whispered excuses, and tried to appear calm, but the wife saw through the mask. Every little twitch, every hesitation betrayed his nervousness. The mistress, oblivious to the full weight of the situation, laughed at something he said, unaware that she was merely a pawn in a game far bigger than herself. And the wife, patient and calculating, allowed the tension to build, letting the suspense simmer under the surface. Like a pot about to boil over, the children ran around, playing pin the tail and chasing each other through the living room. Their laughter a stark contrast to the undercurrent of deceit in the air. It reminded the wife of what really mattered: the innocence of her daughter, the trust she had promised to protect, and the dignity she refused to compromise. Every plan she had made since discovering the betrayal was leading up to this moment. But she had to wait. Timing was everything. As the cake was brought closer and everyone gathered around, whispers and subtle glances passed between adults. No one could quite name the tension, but everyone felt it. A silent question hung heavy. What would she do? How would the husband face the reckoning he had avoided for so long? And more importantly, would the truth finally come out before the celebration ended? The room seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the next move. And the wife, calm yet determined, was ready to ensure that when the moment came, no one, including her husband, would ever forget it. The room had grown warmer as more guests crowded around the cake, the chatter and laughter masking the storm brewing just beneath the surface. The wife stood quietly near the table, her eyes never leaving her husband. Every smile he forced, every nervous glance he cast toward the mistress, made her pulse steady with controlled anticipation. She had rehearsed this moment in her mind countless times, and now it was unfolding exactly as she had planned, but the tension was almost unbearable. Her husband, still trying to appear composed, sensed something was off. He caught the subtle look she gave him, the way her lips curved into a calm, knowing smile, and a flicker of unease crossed his face. He tried to redirect his attention to the children, to the gifts, to anything that would distract from the storm he felt approaching. But it was too late. The wife had everything in place, and the suspense had reached its peak. The mistress, unaware of the full magnitude of the moment, leaned in slightly toward him, whispering something that made him laugh nervously. But the wife noticed, and a quiet fire ignited within her. She could feel the tension in the air, the way it pressed on everyone around them. Guests laughed, oblivious, while adults exchanged glances, sensing that something was about to happen. Every second stretched longer, every heartbeat louder. Then came the moment when the children's excited shouting dimmed, when all eyes were drawn to the wife as she picked up the birthday cake. The candles flickered, casting dancing shadows across the room. She took a deep breath, holding it just long enough for everyone to feel the weight of anticipation before slowly lifting the cake. The silence that followed was almost tangible, broken only by the faint sound of a balloon popping in the corner. Her husband's nervous sweat glistened in the light, and the mistress shifted uncomfortably, suddenly aware that the air had changed. The wife's eyes locked onto him, sharp and unwavering. As she positioned herself in a way that made it clear, something was coming, something he could not avoid. The room held its breath. Everyone could feel it the moment before the truth would strike. The instant where betrayal and consequence were about to collide, and just as the first candle trembled in the gentle breeze, the tension reached its breaking point. The audience, watching silently, knew that what happened next would change everything, but no one yet knew how. Just as the room seemed frozen in anticipation, the wife's hand lingered on the cake and a subtle smirk played on her lips. The husband shifted uncomfortably, sensing the moment was about to spiral beyond his control, but he still had no idea what was coming next. Guests leaned forward, some unaware of the tension, but instinctively feeling the charged energy in the air. Then, without warning, the wife reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope, crisp **. If you enjoyed this story and want more intense thrillers and suspenseful adventures, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and share it with friends who love a good mystery. Your support helps me bring you more stories just like this one. The stakes had just doubled, and the room seemed to shrink with the weight of impending revelation. Her husband's eyes widened as he noticed her reaction to the message. For the first time, fear replaced arrogance. The audience could feel if the tension was now suffocating, the suspense unbearable. Everyone in the room was teetering on the edge of discovery, and the question hung in the air like a knife. What would she reveal next, and how far would the consequences reach? The climax was approaching, and no one could predict just how devastating the next moment would be. The room fell completely silent as the wife straightened, holding the envelope in one hand and her phone in the other. Her eyes, steady and unwavering, locked onto her husband. "It's time everyone knows the truth," she said calmly, but the weight in her voice sent shivers through the air. Guests leaned closer, sensing that this was no ordinary birthday moment. The husband swallowed hard, realizing that the carefully constructed lies he had hidden for months were about to unravel in front of everyone, with deliberate precision. She opened the envelope, pulling out photographs, messages, and evidence of his betrayal, not just with the mistress at the party, but with others he thought no one would ever discover. The room seemed to shrink around him. The mistress froze, realizing she had been a pawn in a far bigger scheme. Shock rippled through the guests as the wife revealed each piece, her calm demeanor making the betrayal feel even more intense. "You wanted to ruin this day," she said quietly, "but you underestimated me." Her husband tried to stammer an explanation, but no words could undo what had been laid bare. The wife's composure contrasted sharply with his panic. Even the children sensed the tension, tugging at her dress. But she barely noticed they were safe, and that was all that mattered. She had turned the moment of humiliation into her control, making sure her daughter's special day remained memorable for the right reasons. Not his lies, just when everyone thought the climax had peaked. The wife smiled faintly and held up her phone. "And one more thing," she said. A video played, revealing a confession he had made privately, recorded without his knowledge. The room gasped. Even the mistress covered her mouth, unable to hide her shock. This final revelation confirmed that the betrayal had run deeper than anyone imagined. And now it was irreversible. The husband sank into his chair, speechless, fully grasping the weight of his actions. Guests looked on, stunned but impressed by the wife's courage and intelligence. And as the wife gathered her daughter into her arms, a small, satisfied smile crossed her face. She had protected her family, exposed the lies, and reclaimed control. But the final twist lingered in the error message flashed on her phone, hinting that the web of secrets extended even further, leaving everyone, including the audience, questioning what might come next. The room slowly began to breathe again as the tension eased, though the air still carried the weight of what had just unfolded. The husband sat frozen, his mind racing, finally realizing the full consequences of his betrayal. The mistress quietly slipped away, her presence no longer relevant, her role in the drama exposed and diminished. Meanwhile, the wife knelt to gather her daughter into her arms, brushing stray strands of hair from her face. The little girl hugged her tightly, oblivious to the adult chaos. But sensing the calm strength radiating from her mother, guests began to murmur. Some offering words of support, others silently processing the shocking revelations. The wife took a deep breath, her voice gentle but firm as she addressed everyone. "Today was about celebrating family and love," she said, glancing at her daughter. "And even when betrayal comes into our lives, we can rise above it, protect those we care for, and make sure the truth is never hidden." Her words resonated deeply, reminding everyone that courage and integrity matter more than appearances or pretense. Her husband, still pale and shaken, realized that the life he had taken for granted was now irrevocably changed. There was no defense, no excuse, and no charm left to salvage what he had lost. The wife had not only exposed his lies, but had done so with dignity, preserving her daughter's innocence and reclaiming her own power. As the party slowly resumed its light-hearted energy, laughter returned to the room. This time genuine, filled with relief and hope. The daughter blew out the candles, her smile radiant, and the wife held her close, feeling a sense of peace she hadn't known in months, though the final text on her phone hinted that challenges might still arise. She knew she had already faced the worst and emerged stronger in the end. The story left a lasting message. Betrayal may shake the foundation of life, but courage, clarity, and love can turn even the darkest moments into triumph. And while secrets may linger, the strength to confront them is what truly shapes the future. Asterisk. If you enjoyed this story and want more intense thrillers and suspenseful adventures, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and share it with friends who love a good mystery. Your support helps me bring you more stories just like this one.